In 2010, this running back would share one of the proudest moments of his life as the New Orleans Saints took home the title of Super Bowl champions. Soon after, he would suffer an injury that would end his career, but be the beginning of an even brighter future. Turning to his passion to help kids, Hamilton's Heart Foundation was born. Meet Lynell Hamilton.
My name is Lynell Hamilton, founder of Fast Play Athletics, also founder of Hamilton's Heart Foundation, and also the 2010 winning New Orleans Saints Super Bowl champions. I'm from Stockton, California. My first time touching the football. In terms of Pop Warner records, I had many records, and right then I knew that this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. I mean, some of the best players, they say, never made it. And the reason why they didn't make it was because of their education. And I was looking like being a statistic. I was on that route. You know, I probably had a 1.8 going into my sophomore year. But that wasn't the only thing that kind of changed my life, right? Just the fact that I was seeing other guys not make it. The biggest point that changed my life was when I gave my life to Christ, my sophomore year in high school. I always had a relationship. I grew up in church. I want to say while I was in middle school, my 7th grade year, our pastor passed away. And then it kind of changed the dynamic of our lives a little bit because we wasn't going to church as much, very rare. But I had enough church in me, and my mom didn't necessarily, put church on you. She put the relationship of Christ on you. That you gotta have a relationship with Him, and that was the most important thing for my family. My mother was, hey, make sure you have a relationship with Him, and I had a relationship with Him. I spoke to Him when I was in need. I spoke to Him when I was happy. I thanked Him for everything He's done for me, even as a child. So you're like, how can that happen? How can you have this great relationship and still have bad grades, right? Well, you know what? My sophomore year, I was able to put it all together. I rededicated myself. I had a relationship, but I wasn't fully dedicated into my sophomore year. Once I got to my junior year, I had an incredible junior year at the public school, and I got the national attention then. Once I started going to the different camps, USC camp, Cal Berkeley camp. For me, I was a huge, strong running back in a passing offense. So they had the shotgun, but I was a bigger back, so I can kind of do both. I can catch the ball at the backfield, I can block, I can run. But teams like Michigan, Miami, USC, all the California schools, Oregon, and Colorado. I mean, I could probably name on my hand alone the schools that did not recruit me. The biggest decision for me going to San Diego State was my mom came to me. She said she prayed on it. Because at that time I was pro-Oregon. She said she prayed on it and said that, God told me that this was a school for you and that you was going to flourish at this school. He had a plan for you here at San Diego State. And once he said that, come on. I mean, I gave my life to Christ. I gave, my game to Him. It doesn't matter what I want to do. It didn't matter what I wanted to. What I needed is what He wanted. Because He gave me the gift anyway. So when she said that, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna fight against that. And I was optimistic. I said, I'm gonna make this work. We get freshman of the year, freshman Mountain West, freshman of the year, All-American. Freshman All-American, I think I ended up being 7th in the rushing in NCAA at the time, after the season was over. But also that season, I would break my fibula. So I wouldn't even play the whole season. Even though I had all those accolades, I still had 3 more games to play that I did not get a chance to finish. And I was just shy 200 yards from being Marshall Faulk's freshman record at the time too. So it was a great year, but it could even be even better if I didn't get hurt. And that would be my career at San Diego State, would be that roller coaster of injuries and overcoming. And which, while you're in it, when you're going through these problems, like I said, my freshman year I had the broken fibula. My redshirt sophomore year I had a hamstring tear that took me out 3 or 4 games. And then my junior year, I had the meniscus tear that, was so bad to where, the new coaching staff that came in placed me in a whole different position, which was the fullback position. So it pretty much kept the ball out of my hands. I had the highest. I was a freshman All-American to being not even touching the ball my senior year. I didn't know what I was going to do next. So come senior year, in the last game of the year, I really thought that was going to be my last game. I really did. I thought that was going to be the end of my career. But one thing I did have hope for was God said that He had more for me in football. And I leaned on that. I had faith in that. God said that I was going to touch people from me playing the game. I didn't know what it was, so I didn't. I decided not to quit. I decided that, I'm not going to take myself out. I'm going to let, that's God's job. I'm going to continue to train and work hard and put up the effort to be looked at by a scout. So that's exactly what I did. Once the season was over, I went straight into training. And, for me to play fullback position, I got up to like 250, 245. I went from 245 all the way down to 211 by the time my pro day was there. And I was in, tip-top shape. I got my film together, gave the scouts my film. I did everything in terms of putting myself in position at least to be looked at on film and looked at in person. A couple teams liked what they saw. New Orleans Saints was one of the biggest teams in terms of, really, really wanted me to go to New Orleans. San Diego was one, Cowboys, Pittsburgh, and the Jaguars. New Orleans flew me out to see their facilities, to see the city, and their biggest thing was they needed a bigger back, a bigger, stronger back, because Deuce McAllister, their legendary running back, had the 2 ACLs tears in his knees. So I love the city, had a great experience, loved the coach. The coach used to coach here. Sean Payton used to be a coach here at San Diego State. So when draft came, I was promised a draft pick from New Orleans, but they went and they chose Jeremy Shockey. They picked up Jeremy Shockey in a trade-in. And so I lost my draft pick. And it was funny, now that I look at it, Jeremy Shockey was a big-time tight end at the time. He was in the locker room. He was like right next to me. So I'm with Jeremy every day, and like, man, that was my draft pick you took, man. But it's cool. The way I got into the league was just perfect. I was a free agent, and I chose New Orleans out of the teams that offered money and offered a position. I chose New Orleans Saints, and there you have it. You go from not being a champion of anything, playing team sports and not necessarily being a champion, to 2010 being a national champions and Super Bowl champion. And that by itself is that experience, that story by itself, it was a bit of a fairy tale, but it was more so, to me, it was almost biblical, especially knowing my story. I went from a guy at San Diego State that had a lot of great things happening, to having the worst things happen to him. And not necessarily everybody on my team never thought that I would even make it or even have a chance to be on a NFL football field. So when I go back to say, you watch what you pray for. Just the fact that I played in the NFL and won a Super Bowl and I was out there on that field, there were so many guys that watched what I went through, my career. It was a blessing to them. It was motivation to them. I inspired them. When I was in New Orleans, I had a lot of guys that was going through injuries at different schools that knew about my story, called me up and asked, how did I get through this? How did I get through 5 surgeries playing running back on your legs? How did I do it? My agent would, have different people call him, can Hamilton talk to my client? Can Hamilton do this? And I touched so many lives just by me believing and trusting in God's word and what he said. And that right there changed everything for me. Hamilton's Heart Foundation started back in 2008, and it was just an opportunity for me to give back and for me to work with a lot of kids from my inner city. It started off just being a football camp. It was the numbers grew to 300 to about 700 kids every year. So to this day, we still do that camp. We changed it in my hometown from being, Hamilton's Heart Foundation's football camp. It was Lavelle Hawkins and Lynell Hamilton's football camp, Hamilton's Heart Foundation, to being legacy. So we kind of incorporated everybody that left that city and bringing everybody back to do a camp. But here we do it here called Inner City Retreat in San Diego, and it's basically we have a life skill seminar, we have a huge camp, and we add on a college fair. Colleges come out and meet these kids, and for these kids to meet these colleges and understand, the next step is our education. And that's not all we do. We have Heart for Fashion. We work with Hamilton's Heart Foundation. What we do, we work with underprivileged youth all across the board, from military to disability to autism, homeless, and inner city. And we do different programs, and we do different events to raise money for a lot of the other programs that are in the city, because we're not about reinventing the wheel. We're all about finding those different programs in the city that are doing really, really well. One was Reality Changers. Another one was Tucson Academy, which is programs that are helping kids get into college, four-year colleges, and have a 90 percentile in getting their kids in. You know what? God says, "For much is given, much is required." And I was given so much. I was given the opportunity to continue to play ball because of him. I was given the opportunity to leave my home city and go and play and be a part of a community called San Diego. It was just, I look back and I see so many things that, given great parents that taught me the way. My dad taught me discipline, work ethic. My mom taught me Christ, relationship. It went hand in hand and made me into who I am today. And a lot of children, they don't have that. They don't have that support system that I had, And this is my way of giving back to them of my knowledge. It's Lynell Hamilton, CEO of Fast Play Athletics, founder of Hamilton's Heart Foundation, also a Super Bowl champion. You're watching The Block.
To learn more about the foundation, be sure to visit their website at hamiltonsheartfoundation.com.